Welcome to the Mortgage Broker Podcast, tailor-made for Canadian mortgage industry professionals. Proudly presented by A Better Way Mortgage Group, this podcast is your trusted source for insider insights, market updates, and strategies to elevate your career in the ever-evolving world of mortgage brokering. Whether you're a seasoned broker with A Better Way Mortgage Group or an industry enthusiast looking to stay ahead, our episodes are designed to empower you with the knowledge and tools you need to excel in the Canadian mortgage space. All right, we're back for another episode of the Mortgage Broker Podcast, and today we're going off script a little bit here. We're going to jump into the new broker relationship manager role with Chris Pughe and Danny Duong. This is all about mentorship and growth, and we're going to start with why we created this role and what it is. Essentially going to explore the creation and the ongoing success of our BRM role. We'll cover the why behind it, the rollout process, and its impact on our team. We've seen an immediate result here. We started this role in May 1st of this year. We're recording sometime in the middle of August here. And, we're really excited. We were extremely excited to roll this out, and we're going to touch on, our hiring process and how we came to the conclusion that Danny and Chris were the perfect fit for us and A Better Way within this role. We'll do a brief introduction to Danny and Chris. If you're a regular listener, you would already know who they are because we just dedicated 2 episodes on our Behind the Broker series with Danny and Chris each. Jason's here joining me as well. A big integral part of this role is Jason, who really maintained, our entire onboarding process at A Better Way and was very much hands-on from a training perspective on just what he does and the parts of this role that, make it such a success. So with that, we'll kick it off and welcome back, and thank you so much for being here and willing to share your time once again and jumping right into this.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much for having us. It's awesome to see you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I kind of just want to start off not going too deep with the introduction. For those of you that don't know Danny and Chris, I highly recommend listening to their Behind the Broker series episodes. They shared a bunch of resources of who they are and what, makes them tick and their success in the industry. So with that, we'll just kind of get into why we created the BRM role. We shared our vision with you guys initially, and you were 2 of the first people to reach out and say, hey, I want to do this. And it was really important to us that existing brokers that are practicing today were the ones that were going to take this role on. And we were very mindful that, somebody jumping into a role to support other agents, we didn't want to take away from your business. And so this is very much a quarter time role, so to speak. We're looking for 10 to, 20 hours at the most a week, but really 10 hours is the sweet spot. And with that, we found that was super important because you're active in the business and you're still staying active. And with this being such a changing industry, really every day there's something new. That was important to us. So, before I really go deep into why we created it, what drew you to, the ability to just jump in and help other brokers and,
Why was I really interested in being a broker relationship manager? I was super intrigued when I saw the posting come out for a whole bunch of reasons. One is that I have a lot of experience and I haven't been able to figure out a way to share some of that. And I by no means know a lot of the answers, but I do have some underwriting skills, and sometimes I know why decisions are made, and I always feel like I should be helping people understand the whys sometimes in our business. So that felt like a really good opportunity. I absolutely love people. I'm so proud to work for this brokerage. And I know that we are one big team, and we're seen by all of the lenders as one big team. And we sometimes will be judged by our weakest links. And so I wanted to be able to help my teammates get up to speed and build a really, really good rapport or reputation for our brokerage by just lending a hand and helping out and supporting where I can.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the key reasons why when we saw you apply for the posting, we were super excited because, you're within the brokerage, you understand the ins and outs of A Better Way, how it operates. And, you're already a sounding board for so many of our brokers to just go to from a comfort basis and say, hey, I don't know what to do here. What would you suggest? Let me just call Chris. And, hence you applying for that role. I think that just brings, a further sense of comfort to some of the brokers that may not always want to reach out to us, but they know that they have a go-to person like yourself that's in the weeds and really understands the ins and outs and how things are working. So we were super excited when we saw your resume pop through. How about you, Danny?
As for me, I have to be honest, I didn't even know about the posting to begin with, but sort of what drove me to apply or express my interest in it was a few years in the making, I think. Even when I was with TD Bank as a broker, I always felt like there was a little bit something more that I wanted to do outside of just brokering. I enjoyed interacting with my clients, but I felt like there was something missing. And I've talked to Jason over the years. I think you recall we've had coffee meetings, and I often said, there's got to be something that I could do besides brokering, maybe, in sort of some sort of training position or sales team management role or something like that when I was with TD. And I always sought that out over the years. And when I mentioned this to Jason, I guess, earlier this year, you brought that to my attention, like, oh, wait a minute, we're thinking about doing something like this. And so why don't you look at the job description? And so, yeah, definitely when I read it, and I felt right away like, yeah, actually, this actually ticks a lot of the boxes. Maybe this is the missing thing that I've been kind of looking to do over the years.
That's cool to hear. And I'll just go back to some of the why. And a big piece of A Better Way is we don't bring on new to industry agents. And, we certainly have some teams within A Better Way that, help and mentor and nurture brand new to industry type brokers. But our onboarding department is a huge focus for us. And it's truly a department. There's a team of people that are assisting our brokers from the onboarding process, right from, the first conversation that they maybe have with Jason about why A Better Way, why, join A Better Way or leave the bank. And again, a big piece of the people that are coming over to our brokerage are bankers, right? That are very experienced in mortgage transactions, but like you mentioned, Danny, on our last episode, like you didn't even know you had to get a laptop, like they're taking your laptop away, like little things like that. So, this role isn't teaching somebody how to be a broker. It's helping them transition and get set up on their 2 feet and be able to actually move forward with the simple necessities like a laptop and all the other things that come with this role. So that was a big piece, is like really going over and above our onboarding experience and making people feel not just welcome to the team by being able to work hands-on with one of our top agents in yourself, but then getting the tips, tools, and the support that they need to feel comfortable that they're actually, getting started in the right direction. And so part of that is being a part of our welcome call. So every broker that we onboard, after they've been onboarded or right when they've been onboarded, Jason would spend a good hour with those people just going through, hey, here's our back-end agent intranet. Here's all the tools, tips that we have. Here's the resources, the lender training calls, everything that we do, the events. There's just so much that we do, and it can be overwhelming. So, taking the time to show them that was a big piece, but being able to transition that welcome call onto your plate was a big, time saver for Jason, of course, but also, again, I think it's a slightly better experience, not to put Jason down here, but to be able to get that support from somebody that's going to be one of their, peers and working alongside them. And then a lot of agents, especially a banker, they decide to leave the bank and they're walked right out of the door. And they don't really have any, ability to serve their clients until their license is activated with, BCFSA, FSRA, wherever, they're located. And that process can take a day. That process can take 10 days or more, depending on where the regulator is at in their capacity. So part of just being able to support them in their transactions and get introduced to their clients so their clients aren't, just left in the dust waiting.
Yeah, hold up. Can you let that offer just subject move for 10 more days, please?
Yeah.
It works nowhere.
Just things like that. It's like when we took over the brokerage, we just couldn't believe how much of that was going on. And so just, again, now you're another resource for them to assist them with those types of transactions and ultimately make sure their clients are served. So that's another big piece of it. And we just noticed like there's multiple gaps in the onboarding process, and that was a big one. Also, just you guys are so great at building relationships, obviously with your clients, but more so with the brokers within our brokerage. So you're a connector to other, key people that will help them and support them. And so, maybe we can just touch on and riff on that a little bit and how you see, Danny, you've been doing the role quite extensively for the last couple of months. Chris, you're just getting into it. Danny, maybe you can just touch on like some of the wins that you've had already.
Right. We do the onboarding call. Of course, I had the opportunity, thankfully, to shadow Jason in seeing how that's done. And so I've been able to do quite a few of them over the last couple of months. We prepared going into these Zoom calls, onboarding calls, We have to know if it's a new broker to the industry, or they transitioning from the bank or from another brokerage. And depending on their situation, we kind of almost custom tailor that call so that they're comfortable with that transition. First of all, it's not overwhelming, and the experience is generally, great, a good call, and they feel supported. For me, I notice, every broker comes in, there's so much to learn. And so we have to take the time, step back a little bit, and understand that it's a difficult time for them. Just kind of help them navigate through the steps of becoming fully functional. There's two sides of it, I feel. Like, one is we want to make sure it's a seamless process for them and their existing clients. So for example, if it's a banker that's transitioning over to the broker channel, they have clients that are still coming to them as they're waiting for licensing, things like that. We want to make sure that that's a seamless process for them too, and how we can facilitate that on top of just themselves being, set up to do the application or take that transaction, from access to systems to talking to BDMs, who to go to, which lender does what. So I think there's two different sides to that, is making sure that they're still in a good position with their clients, the transition is seamless, and then them also feeling supported, learning the process with the broker channel.
Yeah, I would say that there is so much for people to consume in terms of learning where to go and what resources are out there, but they're also actively dealing with their clients and doing all of the things that we do day to day. So it's my hope that in our role, if they've forgotten something that we've tried to teach them in the onboarding call, they'll feel really comfortable reaching out, because sometimes when you're brokering, you just get stuck on one thing and you just need that needle to move. Then you can coast for the rest of the transaction. So it's my hope, if your needle needs to be moved just on one thing, we're going to be the people that are going to be able to help you just sort of get on with your day and your transaction. You can't learn everything in the one onboarding call either.
Yeah, I mean, I've been involved in the recruitment process of brokers and bank specialists for a number of years now. And I know we have a lot of bank specialists from across the country that listen to this podcast. And, the recruiters from the networks and the other brokerages, they're excellent and they're very, very good. And we can hit on the high levels of the whys. Why should you leave the bank world and come to the broker world? And it's all the things that we know. Well, depending on your regulator, you have the ability to incorporate, you have more lenders, you have a residual. So all that is great.
Also, not to interrupt, but I just saw a stat where 56% of mortgage business is coming through the broker channel. And for me, I feel like that's the first time that percentage has been higher. So that's telling me that more and more and more consumers are going to brokerages and broker channels and acquiring their mortgages and getting their skills through brokers. We really have a responsibility to be the best of the best that we can possibly be if that many consumers are trusting us with that. But I've not seen the pendulum swing like that. Sorry for the interruption.
Yeah, I mean, the market share in the broker space is definitely growing. And, to what I was saying, where we can hit the high points, but at the end of the day, when the bank specialist decides that they want to make that move, what the hell do I do? Like, once I make the move, like, what system do I use? Who's going to walk me through Velocity, which is the origination platform we use? Who's going to help introduce me to the lenders? Who's going to help show me how to do payroll compliance? Like, all of the things that you need to do to get an application from front to back, they have no idea. So all of these high points are great, but how am I going to transition my business to being able to be on day one, fully functional, to when I have a client from a trusted referral source that calls me, I'm not scrambling, not knowing what to do. I have my BRM in place that's going to take me through not only the system that I use to submit to banks, but what's that process? How do I get signed up with lenders? What lenders do I use when I fund that mortgage? How do I do payroll and compliance to get paid? So there's a missing gap that I feel the recruitment world has missed from a full-on process that goes well beyond the recruitment call, that layers into the actual onboarding. It's really an integral piece to where we want to be able to set people up for success when they do make that decision to transfer over. And, kind of funneling down to that is, if you're a broker at another network, as an example, and you want to come into a better way, it doesn't matter how well the onboarding process goes. There's always going to be a bit of a lag in the business. How do we make sure we mitigate any risk of potential client impact or referral source impact, and help those brokers that are transitioning from another network perhaps into a better way, to where there's zero business disruption. And that starts right from the recruitment process, right into onboarding, right into regulator setup and lender setup. And that's really the primary function of this role, is to make sure that we're ensuring our brokers that are coming over or our bank specialists success from day one.
Couldn't have said that better.
Hey everyone, Dean here. Quick timeout from the episode to share with you the ABW Tuesday Mortgage Memo, your weekly market highlights sent directly to your inbox every Tuesday. This is certainly one you're not going to want to miss, so make sure to sign up now. You can do so with a link in the show notes, or you can head to joinabw.ca and sign up there. This is a high-level summary of market developments, regulatory updates, and housing trends every Tuesday. So hope you enjoy it, and back to the show. Yeah, I wouldn't mind just touching on that, like the practical side and your experience from both of you, from coming from a bank to a broker, and, you know, maybe some of the bumps in that road and the frustrations. And, you know, a lot of bankers I talk to that are brokers now, they all say like there was a time where they're like, I should just go back.
One time?
No, definitely more than one time. So, you know, maybe just talk on that a little bit, you know, your lens on that.
I agree. And the agents that I've worked with over the last couple of months, there have been, a number of them said, well, first of all, I'm glad that Jason, Dee, and Derek have put me in touch with you and Chris, because, for a couple of weeks there, I almost thought maybe I'm going to go back to the bank. And of course, first thing is like, no, wait a minute. Just, let's settle things down. Let's break things down, what you need to do. I think that's the biggest thing, is that anxiety and that overwhelming feeling when they come over, is that, what do I do, right? From even just taking an application, how do I send out an application? Going from a bank system, which in most cases are quite archaic from what I remember, the whole DOS screen, to, something that's much more advanced velocity. So just holding their hand from day one, just saying, I got you, don't worry. Whatever things you need help with, just give me a call, or we'll start with this bite-sized training session first. And it reassures them. And then that feeling of maybe I should go back to the bank dissipates pretty quickly.
It is an uncomfortable feeling coming from a banker. I was a credit union to a mortgage broker. You're a big fish in a little pond, and you know your systems, and you know your lenders, and you know all the underwriters, and you can be really effective. And then you get your broker's license, and then you come out into the broker world, and you've lost all of your connections, and you no longer just need to know one lender's policies. You need to know 20 lenders' policies. It's quite overwhelming. So it takes a lot of grit to stick with it, but you need to stick with it because you will definitely get there. So it is very nice to be able to be that stopgap to help people transition with whatever issues they're facing. And some of them might just be emotional. Very few of them are volume driven. It's more the emotional side, and just having someone to call.
Well, yeah, I mean, not picking on the bank side, of course, but you can build your business underneath one roof, and bank specialists, they know who to go to when they have an issue, and they go directly to the regional sales manager. Now, when you're on the broker side, in general, you're on your own, you have no one to go with. So that is the key reason why we started this role, is to essentially, for the bank people, if we're talking in that segment, to replace the regional sales manager now with a dedicated broker relations manager that is going to take you through the steps that you need to go. So you're not on your own island, you have the support system, and you know exactly what you need to do to move forward with the transition.
And we know who's who in the zoo, and we can help you with that as well, because there's a lot of new people to meet, a lot of really fantastic people to meet.
And that's where I wanted to go. Glad you said that. Like, there's so many great people within this brokerage, and you're the conduit for these people coming in. Is like, who should they know? Who should they speak to? Even just like an event, like we do so many events here, it could be a little overwhelming, and, it's like going to a new school for the first time, right? It's like you're the first classmate. You don't know anyone. Maybe you're afraid to even attend because you're just going to be standing there alone. Now you're like a resource for them to feel comfortable. You're a friend, right? All of a sudden. So, maybe you can touch on that, how you see that progressing. I know, Danny, you've already bumped into a few people that right away, they feel comfortable. They're going up to you first.
Actually,
right?
I've been thinking about that analogy that you mentioned, going to a new school. It is like that, right? You join the brokerage and there's so many new faces, just like going to a new high school, for example. So knowing somebody that you could immediately talk to, or just be introduced to other agents already there, familiar face, I think that really helps. And so, the school analogy, having a buddy show up for our first day of school is great.
Yeah, some people might not even know that they're welcome and they're wanted there, and they don't understand how approachable everybody is. And it's just trying things for the first time. And being your date, if you will, until you're comfortable and you know a few other people's names, just getting you there.
We talked about bankers, and what I found is like the bankers that come over, one of their first pieces of feedback at an event is like, this reminds me of like when I was at the bank. Like, we had all these peers and all these colleagues that we got to, hang out with in these, various functions. And, for a lot of other brokers that join us, like they didn't even have those types of functions to go to. So it's like they truly were on an island. So they rarely knew anyone at their previous brokerage because they just didn't get out and about. There wasn't that culture and that piece. So again, like just being a family right from the get-go, I think is a big piece, and just, instilling the culture and who we are and who everyone is. Who's the who in the zoo, I guess is the phrase or whatever. But yeah, I guess like going forward, where do you see, abilities to maybe shine in this role that we haven't even maybe thought of yet or talked about as a group?
I think so far, like I said, I've learned along the way. Everyone learns differently. And so continued educational pieces are always very valuable to the brokers. Sometimes when they're transitioning over, they have a lot of free time. And so just learning, getting ready to, pounce on a deal when they're set up ready to do the deals, I think is huge. I think you guys do such a great job with ABW providing all the opportunities to learn. Lender calls every single week. I don't know how you guys do that. On top of that, all the events, just to make sure everyone feels included, part of the brokerage. I think continue to do those. I see it, and I've talked to some of the brokers that, yeah, it's amazing. I didn't know these guys, they have time to do all this, but it's awesome.
I feel too, maybe like we can be real connectors, and that way we are working with everyone where rubber is hitting the road, and we understand a little bit more about how you run the business and the brokerage business. I know how much you want to hear our voices, ours meaning all of the brokers, not just the BRMs. There's a real opportunity for us to be connectors and maybe see opportunities and bring ideas to the table that you guys might not have been able to see because you're not doing the doing. You're doing the stuff that keeps us doing. Does that make sense? But connecting more.
Everybody wants to be a part of something. And I think you guys continue to drive a culture of a collaborative approach, inclusive approach that you mentioned, Danny. And I think that when somebody joins us, whether it's a banker or an existing brokerage, having you guys as that culture piece, that layer in, you're on the ground, you're the foot soldiers, and they feel the culture that we have where we're, hopefully from our level, we're doing a good job and we're continuing to want to grow and expand the company and provide more value. And we don't know from our lens sometimes of the value that you guys need unless you're on the streets doing the dirty work, helping us figure out what we can do to make that culture even better. And I think to me, that's how we continue to grow this role, is making sure that we continue to enhance on the culture that we have here and just continue to grow and make everyone feel that they're a part of something that's growing and great.
One piece of this role that we were very sensitive towards was just balancing, the responsibilities of this role and the fact that you guys are very high achieving mortgage brokers and have a very successful business to run outside of this. And again, that was back to, keeping this at 10 hours or less, at least for the start of this, and making sure we really stick to that. How have you found balancing it? Because you guys had great answers to this. You provided us a lot of comfort to even roll this out. Again, we were very concerned that this was going to take away from, your success. And how do you feel about that? And how are you, balancing that?
I've been adapting quite nicely, I feel. I think when you're excited about doing something, it doesn't feel like a chore, like, okay, I got to do this, and how am I going to do this? For me, it's just fitting it into my day now. It's almost like you go to the gym. Oh, I don't have time. If you fit it into your daily schedule, you get it done. And that's how I approached it. An agent calls, I'll book it into my calendar or, next few days whenever they're available, and just go with it. If I don't do that call, I feel like I'm probably doing something that may not be productive for my own business as well sometimes. So why not spend that time and help a fellow broker? But I find in general, it's been easy to adapt. Like I said, I enjoy it. So it doesn't feel like, I don't want to do it or it's tough. I just fit it in and do it. It's just like going to the gym, get it done.
on both the podcasts that we did individually with you both, you mentioned that, you care about your clients, you care about the process. And, Danny, I've definitely seen it with you, having been in the role, that you really care about the success of the people that are coming in and wanting to make sure that they're successful. And Chris, I know that's exactly how you're going to operate with it. So, and I think overall people are respectful of each other's time and understand that, we're all busy. We all have stuff going on, and you guys are doing a great job with that. And I don't foresee any change to that moving forward.
I have one question for each of you to answer. Best way to frame this is one tip for an aspiring mentor or somebody that's a leader in this space.
I think my one tip would be to be a good listener. And then just throw your name in the hat. Take a seat at the table. Speak up, because it's really welcome feedback, and your perspective is probably really, really needed. So don't be shy.
I would say the same, actually. Be a good listener. I find that on any of the calls that I've done, I just sit back and listen to them, what their pain points are, and then give them some advice. I think above that is also you learn something. As I've been doing it, I've learned that, so-and-so asked that question. Actually, I don't know, and we're going to find out. And then I've incorporated it into my own processes and refined them. Like, I helped them, but they also helped me. So I think that's maybe one takeaway, is if you want to become a mentor or a role that's in line with that, is you also get a lot out of it. You're helping, but in turn, you're going to learn a lot too and help yourself.
So one of the last questions I wanted to go into is, I've already seen some immediate success from agents that have come on board, bankers especially, but even just experienced brokers. We had a couple brokers leave A Better Way this year and come right back. And common feedback from everyone is like, I'm telling everyone they need to join A Better Way because of these experiences, whether it was something that happened in the onboarding or one of the conversations that they had in a welcome call or what have you, or the follow through afterwards of feeling comfortable at an event, all the things that we've talked about. Have you seen any success there, from the feedback you've received? And Chris, did any of that stick out to you as like, hey, this could be a great way to find other people that are like-minded? And, we're always looking to grow, but we're not looking to just grow. We want the right people that are the right fit for our culture and our team and everything else that goes on here. So just wouldn't mind getting your opinion on that.
The point that you mentioned, we've seen some agents leave and come back. And I've heard as well is that beyond the culture that you've built here, the technicalities of the business too, compliance, for example, is a huge, change this past year. I've talked to some other brokers that feel like brokerages are taking it very lightly. And that's going to affect every broker eventually down the road if you're not taking the right steps to ensure you're compliant. And so at ABW, you guys have done an amazing job with that. I feel that's part of the reason why when they're talking out in the street is, wow, I didn't know that. In turn is that, yeah, you should join ABW, because not only are we educating the brokers on these technical side of the business and things that they must do, and above and beyond building the culture, that we're making sure that they're doing everything correct and properly.
Yeah, I completely understand why they would leave and then come back, because I do know that this is one of the best brokerages, if not the best brokerage in Canada. I've worked at other brokerages, and I talk to you guys because you're so approachable, and I know that your sole purpose in this life is to figure out how to help us be more successful and serve our clients and have full access. The efforts that you make might not be so obvious when you're just experiencing that every single day. But if you've worked in an environment where you don't experience that every single day, then when you do get here, you are so, so grateful for all the work that our broker owners put into making this place a really stellar place for us to deliver all the services and serve as great intermediaries for our clients with the lenders. There's no other place to be.
Well, thank you very much for that. One piece of feedback that I've had is I had brought over a fairly highly producing mortgage specialist from RBC who I'd brought through the onboarding process, answering questions for a few weeks after. And this was kind of right as we were transitioning Danny into the role. So I'd introduced this gentleman to Danny, and the guy called me about 2 or 3 days after, and he said, "Thank God you introduced me to Danny. I'm able to call him now because he just made me feel so comfortable about where I was at. It reinforced the decision that I had made to join." And now he's, I think he's probably 4 or 5 months in, and he's rolling very steadily. He's at all the events, he's doing all the learnings, and that's where I really see the benefit. And again, I think that is the major piece of having you two leading this as ground level, understanding what's going on and just in the day-to-day weeds of that. And that's where I see the success continuing to grow, is just having people just feeling like they're really a part of the culture and how this whole thing operates.
And some of it's tiny little tactical things. Like I've submitted my first deal to the lender. Now what? Like, do they get back to me tomorrow? Is it going to be next week? When you're used to a system and then all of a sudden and if the underwriter hasn't gotten back to you in a day or two, is that normal? Is that not normal? You will sit there and sweat it and not have the answers. But now you could run it past Danny and I, and we could figure out whether that's normal or not, or it's volumes, or there's something wrong. Little tiny things like that, just turnarounds that can be so unnerving when you have subject removals and clients to take care of.
I just want to share a funny story about this role specifically. Our goal is to help the agents get up and running and, thrive. So after working with one of the agents for probably like a month and a half, we're talking almost every other day, texting at night sometimes. And then eventually he was comfortable and the calls got fewer and fewer in between, and didn't hear from him for almost a week. And then he calls me and I was like, hey, what's up? Like, what do you need today? He's like, oh, nothing. I just feel kind of weird. Like, it's like we've broken up. So I thought I'd just call to say hi. I'm like, okay, well, what are you up to? And we're just chatting for a little bit. And it was pretty funny. A way for me to measure our success, our impact in this role is like, we want to work with them, get them up and running. And if we hear less and less from them, it means we're doing a great job. They're up and ready to do everything on their own. They can find information on their own, and we're doing our job. So in some ways, we built a friendship now, but now they're out on their own.
See you at the next event.
Yeah.
Next.
That's a great metric to measure the success, and it's probably a great point to kind of wrap this up. Like, that's certainly one thing I've noticed is, from our position, we're getting less and less calls. To be honest, a lot of these folks, zero. Like, they're not reaching out to us for any support because you've literally handled it and they know exactly what they're doing and they feel comfortable in that. So that's a huge win for us. And, again, back to the, the heavy event schedule we have, these folks are coming to the very first one since getting onboarded. And it's like, it's crazy. Like, some of these guys, I know who the one you were just talking about, like, it's like he's been here forever. It's like I've known him forever, right? So it's cool to see just how quickly people are getting integrated into this family. And
we want you to feel the love.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just been a huge success for us out the gates. And one of the most humbling pieces of this whole journey was really just the hiring process and putting the job posting out there to our team. Is just so many of our brokers wanted to do this, and it just goes to show you how willing our team is to help everyone. All the interested brokers, we've been able to communicate with everyone that, obviously wasn't successful in getting this role to begin with, but this is certainly going to be a growing segment of our team. As we grow, we're going to continue to grow this BRM team and this leadership team in general. So there's always going to be opportunities going forward here. And so for those of you that are listening, there definitely will be another opportunity. And for those of you that are listening that maybe didn't put your hat into the pile here, certainly reach out if this is something of interest to you, because it's just been so great for us to see, and we're really fortunate to have you guys supporting us.
Thank you. The feeling, I'm sure, is mutual. We're really grateful for the opportunity, and thanks for your time again.
Let's put these mics down and have a group hug.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, thanks for listening. Again, that was like a little bit off the script from what we usually do on this show, but we just thought this has been such a great success. We wanted to share it. Also, even just with the industry, for, broker owners that are listening that think that adding something like this to your team could help, I highly recommend it. It's just a no-brainer in our eyes. So that's a wrap, and thanks for listening. Thank you for tuning in. If you found value in this show, please subscribe to our channel on your preferred platform. We're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Your support is incredibly appreciated. We also welcome your reviews and feedback, which are crucial in helping us deliver outstanding educational content. Feel free to share your thoughts. A 5-star review would be fantastic if you think we earned it. Lastly, a vital announcement about Backpack Buddies, our chosen charity for 2025. This remarkable organization addresses a hidden hunger issue many are unaware of in British Columbia. While school districts provide meals during school hours, numerous children face food scarcity at home, particularly during the weekends. Backpack Buddies steps in to support these vulnerable children, ensuring they have easy-to-prepare, familiar food for weekends. This is achieved through collaborations with schools and an extensive distribution network. Your contribution can make a significant difference. With just $20, you can give a child in need a food bag from Backpack Buddies filled with enough meals and snacks to sustain them over the weekend and more. Once again, thank you for listening, and see you on the next one.